Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. So I wanted to do a little bit of a different kind of video today. So I was planning on putting up my November wrap-up today, which is December 5th. So happy Krampusnacht if you guys are celebrating. We love the legend of Krampus around here, so we'll probably have a little bit of a bigger dinner and maybe watch a horror movie. Maybe we'll watch Krampus and have some mulled apple cider or something like that. So we love that legend. It's one of the only things that we do that's kind of festive, I guess you would say. So of course tomorrow is the Feast of St. Nicholas, and Krampusnacht always comes the day before. So today, like I said, I was going to put up my November wrap-up, but I just kind of wanted to have a little bit of a laid-back chat with you guys about 2021, kind of reflecting on the year, and 2022, and how, you know, what kind of goals that I have and how I'd like to move forward with the channel and with other things and all of that kind of stuff. So it's a freezing cold Sunday here. It was minus 27 this morning. I think it was warming up a little bit. I think it's only about minus 25 out now still. So I'm here. I've got my Killstar kind of cloak on with a pair of leggings. Matthew is upstairs watching a movie with the curtains closed and just having a laid back Sunday. So just wanted to have a little bit of a chat with you guys about goals and all of that kind of thing and things that are upcoming on the channel. So hopefully you guys enjoy it, and please leave me a comment or a question or a thought or a suggestion or whatever down in the comments below. Like I said in my last video, leaving comments and likes and stuff like that on these videos for smaller content creators really does help. If you don't have anything really to say, just leave a heart or hey or whatever. I really love getting your guys' comments, and they've been overwhelmingly positive. So I've only had a few situations where I've had a negative comment or, you know, something that I don't really agree with or that kind of thing. So I'm really pleased with how this channel has shaped up over this year. I think I started out the year with like 50 or 75 subscribers, and here we are at over 500, which in the YouTube world, that's super tiny, but I'm glad that we have a small community here and we can talk openly, and I appreciate all of you guys, of course. And this little corner of YouTube, the little corner of booktube actually, and just, you know, horror lovers and stuff like that is really fantastic. So looking back on 2021, this was a really hard year, and that's why I think I'm so pleased with how the channel had turned out, because there was stuff going on in my personal life that has been really difficult. And so doing these videos and talking about horror and spending time reading my books has really been a wonderful escape for me. So I talked about it a little bit with some of you guys and a little bit on my Instagram, that I had been struggling a lot with my health this year. So all of the goals that I had kind of set out for myself at the beginning of 2021, unfortunately I haven't achieved a whole lot of them, because I really had to stop everything and concentrate on my health and trying to heal and get better. So for a while, like a year, I would say probably for a minimum of a year, I was not feeling very well. I was having problems with a lot of anxiety, and on top of that, I had a very closed in feeling. I just felt off. I didn't feel like I was balanced very well. I had a lot of migraines. I was always tired. I wasn't even like cleaning or cooking most of the time. Like Matthew really did everything, and I couldn't figure out what the problem was. Like I thought that it had something to do with my bipolar disorder. You know, on top of the bipolar, I do also have major depressive disorder, and I also have an anxiety problem, which, you know, a lot of people with mental health struggles, they struggle with a few different things. So I was really trying to get as much rest as I could and all of that, but I couldn't pinpoint what was going on. And even when I would try to explain it to my doctor, I'm like, I don't know what's wrong, but I just don't feel good. And during the holidays last year, so Christmas last year, I was really, really sick. So I was sleeping a lot, like I said, constant migraines, constant pressure in my head, just back to back to back to back panic attacks, which is funny because panic attacks aren't something that I deal a lot with. Even with my bipolar and even with my mental health problems, I don't usually deal with a lot of anxiety attacks. Like, I do have anxiety, but not full-blown panic attacks. And so I was trying to figure this out, and then on New Year's Eve, I was really not feeling good. And Matthew went off to work, and I was just sitting on the couch watching a YouTube video. And all of a sudden, at the turn of a coin, everything started to spin. And I thought, the first thing I thought was like I was gonna have I was having an aneurysm or something. I tried to stand up, I fell on the floor. I tried to get up, I fell on the floor. So I was home alone. All I could think was, luckily I had my phone kind of like in my lap with me, as most of us do. So I had my phone in my hand, and all I could think of was to try to get outside so that either get someone's attention, or if I were to pass out, at least I would be outside where someone could find me, because I was home alone. So I couldn't stand up. I could barely move. Everything was spinning, and it was the scariest moment of my life. And unfortunately, this attack that I had brought on a panic attack on top of it. My blood pressure went through the roof, my pulse rate went through the roof. I was having like shallow breathing and all of that kind of stuff. So I called Matthew, because he's literally two minutes away, and he took me to urgent care. Luckily, after that initial attack where everything was spinning, it stopped, but I was still extremely dizzy. Like, the level of vertigo, I can't even describe the level of vertigo. All I could say was it was like walking on a boat while you're drunk. I couldn't walk in a straight line. So they did a whole bunch of tests and all this, and they suggested maybe it's this or maybe it's that. You know, you have PPPV or whatever, which is where the crystals get out of alignment in your inner ear and you drop to the floor. So they told me if you do these maneuvers at home, it will help the crystals go back into alignment. And, you know, so anyway, that was not the problem. They were testing me out for other stuff. That was not the problem. I was back and forth to my GP. I was back and forth to urgent care. Nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. And then within, I think, 2 days of having that initial attack, the hearing in my left ear was completely gone. And I was literally in the bathroom, and I could hear it fading. It started out normal and it just faded. And unfortunately, it didn't just go quiet, it got replaced with this unbelievable squeal in my ear. And it was just like someone had a kettle, that like an old-fashioned kettle that was on a stovetop, and it was whistling in my ear. And that's all I could hear. I couldn't hear it at all out of my left ear. So eventually I was diagnosed with labyrinthitis, which is, I would never wish it on my worst enemy. I can't even describe how horrible this experience was. So for the first 16 weeks, I couldn't walk in a straight line. I couldn't drive. Whenever I would sit down, I felt like I was on a boat. Whenever I would stand up, I couldn't walk straight. If I would lie down, I felt like I was floating and I was gonna fall. The level of nausea and vertigo, and like I said, the squealing in my ear and all of that. And they were giving me these really lame excuses as to what it was. So I worked very, very hard doing physio and going for treatments and stuff like that to try to get my balance back on track. Because every day, my one thing that I had to do was walk to the mailbox and back. And like, our street is here, and the street that runs this way is kind of on a hill. And when I would look at the hill, I would literally fall over. So you have to retrain your ear, your inner ear, to rebalance itself. So for the first 16 weeks, That's what I was really trying to achieve. And unfortunately with this problem, it's not like you see, like when you're sick and you see that you're getting better every single day. This was like, I would see a minuscule improvement like every few weeks to every few months. So after the first 16 weeks, the squealing started to come down very, very, very slowly. And this was 24 hours a day that I had this loud squeal in my ear. So sleeping was out. I would have nighttime panic attacks. I would just be up and I would be walking the floors, because this is something that you have to deal with yourself. Nobody else is experiencing it, and nobody else kind of really knows what you're going through. So I actually joined a few support groups as well, which was fantastic, because these people know that what you're going through. So it was amazing to me that I kept working and I kept recording and reading and everything during this time. It was really my only escape from all of this stuff. So that was awful. So for the first 16 weeks, that's what that was like. For the next 16 weeks, I started to be able to walk straight, drive. I could go to the store without having a migraine or a panic attack, because during those first 16 weeks, I couldn't even go to the store because looking at all of the stuff would be too much for me. So I had to work very, very hard on my recovery. And in August, I found out that on top of the labyrinthitis, I also had a compression in my cervical spine in my C1 and C2 that was interfering with the nerve messages that were going to my inner ears and to my eustachian tubes. So my middle ears were constantly filled with fluid, which unfortunately also made my hearing worse, and my eardrums were bulged out and were stretched. So I was going for hearing tests and all kinds of stuff. And the way that I figured out how to make myself better, I had to figure it out on my own. It took hours of research, building timelines, building documents of my symptoms and all of this. And I finally found this dark corner of the internet where, you know, it's not just the labyrinthitis healing, it's this other complete problem that's going on. So I have both of these things at the same time. And so I've been in therapy literally the entire year. Like, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary, and people with labyrinthitis are years getting over it. I still have a squeal in my left ear. It's probably only about 10% of what it was, but I still have to sleep with like a sound machine and a fan, and I still get vestibular migraines from time to time. They're a lot less, but because of a lot of the medication that I'm on, I can't take the migraine medication. So when I do get them, I kind of had to deal with them on my own. So it's been really, really hard. So just to give you an overview of my health. So like I said, every goal that I had for this year, I've had to put aside and just concentrate on trying to get over this issue, trying to get over this problem. And probably in the last 8 to 12 weeks, I've really started feeling a lot better. It's not 100%, and like I said, some people with these problems are years trying to get over it. So it's something that you have to kind of learn to live with as well while you're waiting to get better. But trying to stay positive and trying to keep on top of my therapy and my physio, and I'm going to the chiropractor, and I'm getting all kinds of treatments to try to help with this problem and getting it better. So if you know anyone who's ever had labyrinthitis, I feel for them. I would not wish it on my worst enemy. So that's been my 2021. So it had nothing to do with the pandemic. The pandemic doesn't really bother me in that, you know, I have to wear a mask, or, you know, I can't visit or whatever, because I'm very much an introvert anyway. So, but I had my own health problems that I was dealing with. So that's been one thing. And then the other thing is, it's been fantastic to be able to work from home. But I would say in my 7 years with the company that I'm currently with, it's been my most difficult year in just the level of expectation, the level of projects that we were pumping out. So having to deal with a health problem and having a really high stress work year was really difficult. But like I said, like recording these videos and chatting with you guys and doing my Instagram and stuff like that has been so great. And like I said, it's just a pure escape, and for a lot of us that's why we read, because it's an escape. And you know, that's been great. And something else that I was working on just in the past few weeks is that I had a chat over just Zoom with one of the guys that I work with, who is he's very up on like marketing social media and stuff like that, which I'm a Gen X, so like I have social media and stuff like that, but I don't really know how to leverage it properly for, you know, increasing my follower count and really getting the engagement and stuff like that. So he really gave me a lot of tips on how to leverage social media to try to grow my following. And I always say that doing this channel and doing all of this is not about the followers, but at the same time you want to see things growing and new people coming in and people discovering your channel that you want to discover your channel. So that's been fantastic. So I've really been seeing a big change in my social media. So that's been something that I've been working on now that I'm kind of starting to feel better, and I'm really starting to put together a very loose list of goals and aspirations for 2022, because now I'm kind of well within my therapy. Like I said, I've been going to the chiropractor, and I was going frequently. Like I bought a package and I was going 3 times a week to get treatments, which is a lot. And so we've kind of decreased them to the point now where I can just go once a week, but I have to do that for the next year. Plus going for my other treatments for my ear. So I've kind of put together like a loose list of what I would like to do in 2022. And I'm hoping that I will be able to accomplish at least some of them. So when it comes to the channel, like my YouTube channel, I put out a poll on the community tab here on YouTube, and I also put out a poll on my Instagram asking, what would you guys like to see? Just because, you know, BookTube kind of as a whole is very formulaic. You do your TBRs, you do your hauls, you do your wrap-ups, you might do a couple of reviews, a book tag, you know, stuff like that. And I like things that are very formulaic. I really, really do. It makes things easier on me because I have something called OCPD, which I very much stick to a schedule. But I would also like to start doing some new things. So I wanted to kind of put the feelers out there and see what you guys wanted to see as well. So again, if you have any suggestions for the types of videos that you would like to see and you didn't participate in the poll, leave a comment down below. And of course, I take all of this into consideration. You know, it is my channel and I'm going to do what I want, but at the same time, I also want you guys to be seeing videos that you want to see. So one thing that's really interesting is that this is primarily a book channel, but sometimes I like to talk about movies, or I like to talk about podcasts, or talk about Halloween, or like the Tales from the Haunted Victorian, which came very highly requested. But you do notice that a lot of people like to see a little bit of variety. But honestly, and this is not a lie, whenever I do a video that's not book related, I get people who will unsubscribe, and I get people, sometimes I have gotten, you know, snippy comments where it's like, I'm here for the books, and they'll unsubscribe, and they're like, I'm unsubscribing. And to that I would just like to say, for one, if that's how you feel, you know, go ahead. It's, you know, it's nothing to me. But at the same time, you know, if I do one video that's unbook related, I do typically 2 videos a week. If I do one that's unbook related, like, maybe just don't watch that video. Like, the book videos will come back. It's not like I'm gonna change the formula of the channel to be something completely different. Like, I don't want anybody to think that. But at the same time, you know, sometimes you want to branch out and do something that's a little bit different. But those videos, like I say, I always get people who unsubscribe, and I always get people who, it's, you know, I noticed that in the analytics, it's my least watched type of video. So when I was doing the Tales from the Haunted Victorian, which is something that people have requested that I do more kind of paranormal videos, it's my lowest watched type of video is the paranormal videos, ghost stories. The other type of video that gets the least amount of views is book reviews, which I find so funny because, you know, when I do a book review, I might get maybe a third of the views that I do with my more popular videos. So when I did those polls, the overwhelming majority was people wanted to see more book reviews. But when I look at the analytics, it's like, well, if I'm gonna do more book reviews, I hope you guys are gonna watch them, because if it keeps going like this, then I'm not gonna have anybody left on this channel. So I am gonna do more book reviews next year and just kind of see how it goes. And, you know, I'm going to continue to do book reviews anyway, even if they do get less views than the rest of my channel. But it kind of depends on how many I'm going to do too. Like, do I do 2 a month? Do I do 4 a month? Do I do 1 a week? You know, so it's really interesting to see what people are asking for and what the analytics say. So that was really super interesting. And the other questions that I had on there too were, would you like to see more non-bookish videos? And that one came back with a fair amount of response as well. People want to see vlogs or like a get ready with me, which I'm not really a lifestyle kind of creator, but I mean, if you guys want to see a makeup video every once in a while, or you know, when I get new Killstar stuff in, do you guys want to see a haul of that? Or, you know, so that's really interesting too, because when I do things that are non-bookish, then I get people who unsubscribe. So it's kind of trying to find a balance between everything. That's really interesting to me. And it's something that's quite fun to see how, like when you do different types of videos, how they'll turn out. So one thing that came back was non-bookish videos, and then the other thing was horror related videos that don't have specifically to do with horror books. So like movies, or like I said, like ghost story type things, maybe some true crime, stuff like that. So that was really interesting to see as well. So I'm gonna try to change things up a little tiny bit and just see how the analytics go at the beginning of next year. And then as for paranormal type videos, that's something that I would like to do, but I also have an idea in my head that was actually a goal for this year. But like I said, I had to put all my goals aside. That has to do with paranormal stories, but it's kind of a little bit different. So I don't want to go too far into it because I don't know how realistic that goal is and how much time I'll have to put into it. But telling ghost stories for me is something that I've always enjoyed. I've always loved, like when I was a kid and we would pretend that we were part of the Midnight Society from Are You Afraid of the Dark, and we would tell ghost stories and legends and stuff like that. And for me, especially when it comes to my own experiences, but outside of that, like if it has to do with Canada, I'm very proud to be Canadian, and we have some really fantastic haunted places here, and I would like to, you know, take you guys to Banff, to the Banff Hotel, and tell you stories about stuff that happened there, or into Calgary and tell you stuff that happened there. I mean, a dream would be to travel around Canada and bring you to different places, but of course that's not really feasible right now. But I think this idea that I have in my head will be a little bit of a compromise to that, and it's something that I'm pretty excited about, but we'll have to see how much time I have to put into it, for one, but also like how many people I can get to you know, take in that new type of content, because like I said, everybody always asks me for ghost stories, but then, you know, nobody really watches. So we'll have to see how that goes. So pretty excited about that one. More to come there. And then the other thing that I would like to do this year is really concentrate on my book. So last year, it was the end of 2020 actually, I had started writing an outline for my book, and basically I wanted to do a fictional account of like all of my paranormal experiences that I've ever had and that my family has ever had, and put them into kind of a fictional piece. and I'd really like to do that. Unfortunately, my outline was lost. I put it into iCloud and it was accidentally deleted. So I had to put some time between that situation happening and when I'm starting this again. But that is something that I would really like to concentrate more on this year, is putting some time into my book. Because I'm seeing, you know, all of these wonderful people who are self-publishing their books. And, you know, it was only a few years ago that I realized that you don't need a publisher. You don't need, you know, obviously I would want it to be professional and still have great editing and stuff like that. But it's definitely achievable to write a book these days and publish it yourself. So that's something that I would like to put a bit more time into. You know, I work full-time in marketing, and then you're spending time with family, and there's chores, and then there's the YouTube channel, then there's reading the books for the YouTube channel, and then there's this other side project with the paranormal that I want to get started, and then talking about a book. Like, this is a lot of stuff. So I want to be very realistic with what I can do, but there are places in my life where I can free up some more time. Like, you know, maybe don't sit in front of the TV as much as I do. So we'll have to see how that goes with, you know, realizing those goals. But I'm very excited about them. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And it all has to do with horror. It all has to do with this spooky life that we live. And I just love that. So let me know your thoughts down below on that kind of stuff, about different sorts of videos that you would like to see. Like I said, if I got new Killstar stuff, would you guys want to see like a lookbook? I get a lot, and I mean a lot, of compliments on my clothing and my style. So is that something that you guys would like to see, or would I bring that into another channel and just leave this one for books? Vlogs is another thing that people have asked for, and it's so funny because I did a few vlogs last year, and I really enjoy them. I love watching other people's vlogs, and I think they're great, and I can give you guys recipes and talk about books and talk about stuff that's going on in life, and, you know, just have it as a little bit more of an informal sort of thing. Maybe take you around Calgary so you could see it and stuff like that. But I'm such an introvert that I find it difficult with the vlog thing. And of course, you know, I'm still pretty self-conscious when it comes to like not having my makeup done and all of that sort of thing. So I think I'm going to try doing the vlog thing again, and we'll see how well it does on the channel. But that is something that was asked for as well. Yeah, so that's kind of what I have set out for the future. Oh, the other thing was I asked what you guys thought about doing some journaling type videos. So I do have a whole bunch of journaling supplies and stationery and stuff that I've bought. I love watching journaling videos, and I think it's a great log to have to look back at the end of the year and really see what your thoughts were at that time. Because one thing I'm finding is that, you know, how many books have I read this year? I think I've read like 85. My goal was to read 80. I think I'm at 85. And that goal also has to change with everything else going on. But it's great to be able to look back at a log and see what your thoughts are, and, you know, make it nice and pretty and stuff like that. So I really enjoy journaling videos, and I've tried to do a reading journal before, but I think I was putting too much pressure on myself with I can't draw very well, and, you know, how it's looking and stuff. But that's not the point of having a journal, like a bullet journal or a reading journal or whatever. It's meant to be functional. But doing some journaling videos, I think, is something that I would like to add in as well. So let me know what you guys think of that. And I want to make it very realistic, because I find that a lot of the journaling videos that I watch, like, you have these people who are fantastic artists, and they literally spend hours and hours and hours putting time into this stuff. So I wanted to have it be very realistic at the same time as being functional. So that was something else. And So I'll show you guys all of my journaling stuff that I got after the solstice, because I did buy it for myself as a solstice gift. So we'll talk about that a little bit more coming up in 2022 also. And then with the actual reading goal, like I said, my goal was to read 80 books this year, and I achieved that goal. I surpassed that goal, which I didn't really care a whole lot if I achieved that goal or not. Like, we read how much we read, you know, but I find that there's so much pressure with this booktube stuff. You know, you have people out there who are literally reading like 20 to 25 books a month. Like, they're like, oh, I only read 17 books. That's horrible. You know, I don't think that really should be the goal. It shouldn't be the expectation. And one thing that I found this year was that I read a lot of books and I love reading. But I think I want to read even slower than what I do, so I can really describe to you every book that I read this year. Because when I look back at 2021 and my reading goals for 2021, the books that I really enjoyed or really didn't enjoy, I could probably tell you all about them. But the vast majority of the books that come between like a 1-star and a 5-star, you know, I couldn't really tell you as much about the story and as much about my thoughts as I would like to. So that's the thing. Like I said, you have a lot of booktubers out there who are reading 20, 30 books a month. They're listening to them on audio at 2.5 times speed. And if that's what works for people, like, have at it if that's how you like to read. But to me, I wouldn't be able to get anything out of it if I was doing that. So I think I'm going to lessen my goal this year. Like, when I do my TBRs, instead of talking about 8 to 10 books a month, I'm going to be talking about like 4 to 6 books a month, because I want to not only really enjoy what I'm reading, I don't want to have a whole lot of pressure on myself, and then I want to free up time for these other goals that I want to get to as well. So it's not about the quantity of books, and I think BookTube has put too much emphasis on that. Like, when I'm watching these wrap-ups that people are talking about like 20, 25 books, you know, that's kind of become the norm. And people that read less, I mean, that's, to me, that's realistic. Most people who are not doing BookTube like for a living are not reading 20 books a month. Like, most people, most adults are probably reading 1 book a week, if that. I mean, a lot of my girlfriends, they're reading like 1 book a month, which, I mean, to me is just, I wouldn't be able to do it. I have to read more than that. But, you know, you have to find a spot that's right for you. And I don't think anybody should be judged by the amount that they're reading. You know, it's about enjoying the book while you're reading it, getting something out of it, and then discussing it afterwards, whether it's 4 books, 10 books, 12 books, or 20 books, you know. But for me, I'm finding that this goal of 80 was way too high. I found a lot of months I was very pressured, and because I felt if I didn't complete my TBR, then I failed. So I think I would rather do a smaller TBR, and then if I read all of those books and I still have time, then I can add to it rather than doing it the other way around. So that's my thoughts on that. And then I've seen, funny enough, because I had been thinking about this topic for several months, and then Josh from Working Man Reads and Juan from Plagued by Visions both put out videos about exactly what I was thinking about. And so I knew it wasn't only me. And that's about review copies. Now, I think it's great that, and it's one of the things why we're doing this stuff here on BookTube, is to help authors and help spread the word about their books. And I've loved the fact that authors will reach out to me, or if I see somebody on Instagram that they're putting out a call for ARC readers and I'll apply to get a book, it's fantastic. It's really, really great. But at the same time, it puts a lot of pressure. And, you know, I feel like if I don't read the book immediately, that I'm failing, or that, you know, they're watching every single one of my videos wondering when I'm going to talk about their book. And so that's another pressure point. And then there's kind of this give and take where there's books that I've received for review copies this year that I never would have checked out these books or these authors if they didn't reach out to me. So like one of my favorite books this year was Take Your Turn Teddy by Haley Newland. I had never even heard of her before. I had never heard of this book, and it turned out to be one of my favorite books of the entire year. I talk about it whenever I can. But at the same time, if you get a review copy that you don't really feel like you can DNF it because you're supposed to be giving a review, you've received this book, which is kind of like a payment in a way in return for a review for this author. And I'm always very diplomatic about my reviews. I've never had a negative thing come back from an author saying, you know, you tore my book apart or anything like that. But sometimes when you read a review copy and you're kind of forced to finish it, it can put you into a reading slump, and that's happened a couple of times for me. It can put you into a reading slump, and then I haven't experienced it, like I said, but I know other booktubers have experienced it, where the authors, you know, will come back and say, well, you know, I sent this to you for free and you didn't give it a good enough review. And I always try to be very open and honest with an author before they send their book to me and say, like, you know, I'm not going to give you a good review just because I got a free book. You know, that's not how I roll. But then they're going to be upset if you don't give it like a 4 or 5 star review. So there's a lot of pressure that comes with that whole reviewing thing. So I think for a little while, because I do have some review copies that I've promised that I'm going to give reviews to, and I am going to, but I'm going to shut down reviews for a little while. I am going to probably open it up again, but I'm going to be very selective, because the other thing that I've experienced is that people say that they're fans of me and fans of the channel. So in that case, you should know what kind of horror I read and what kind of horror I like. And they say, oh, I think you'll really like my book. And it turns out to be something that I never would have picked up. Like I've said before, I'm not into extreme horror. I'm not into body horror. I'm not into the ooey gooey and gory. So when an author reaches out and says that they're a fan of my channel and they don't even know what it is that I read, that can kind of pose a problem, right? So I had one review copy where it was a short story collection, and it took me months to read a selection of the stories because it's not my thing. And in that case, like, I can't even give it a star rating, because it's not that I didn't enjoy the stories. I don't think it was a bad book. I don't think the writing was bad. It's just not something that I'm into. It's like even when I watch horror movies, like, horror is wide ranging. So I love supernatural and haunted houses and paranormal and jump scares, and I do like classic slasher stories and stuff like that, but I would never sit down and watch Saw or The Human Centipede or any of those. It's not my thing. So it's very difficult for me when an author reaches out and I'm like, I'm not really too sure if this is for me, and they're like, well, just try it. Just try it and talk about it. You know, you're pressuring me. And obviously you don't know anything about me or my channel, because this is exactly something that I'm not into. So it's been a little bit difficult, and I've been kind of on the fence about how I'm going to do my review copies in the future. Like, maybe I'll leave it so, you know, I'll be the one reaching out to authors to get a review copy. But then, you know, like in the case of Haley Newland's book, I never would have known about her if she didn't reach out and give me her book. And then on the flip side, like, people will be reaching out to me to give me a book, and I will read it, I will make my notes, make a video, and a lot of work has to go into that, and then they don't even bother watching it. I never hear from them again, you know, so that's the other thing too. So the whole review copy thing is very complicated, and I had all of these thoughts in my head and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do about it, but then Josh and Juan both came out with their videos, and it's kind of reinforced that this is not only me that's thinking about this. So I have to kind of figure out what I'm going to do going forward. Like I said, I do have a few review copies that I have to go through, and one in particular that I'm very excited to read. But I don't know if it's worth going into a reading slump because it turned out to not be something for me, or just be open and honest and say, look, I DNF'd your book. I'm not really sure how I'm going to do that. So that's my very long ramble about review copies. If you guys have any thoughts on that, let me know. But there are a few authors that I will always try out their book, like Mike Thorne. I've been so happy to read his books. Robbie Miles, who did Don't Call It All earlier this year, and he is coming out with a new book in March. Like, I am definitely hitting him up for a review copy. And you know, the thing is too that I don't give these people positive reviews because they're my friends. Like with Autumn Crow, like Cameron Cheney is a very good friend of mine. I'm not going to give him a positive review just because I like him as a person. Like, I want to read his book and give an honest review. So anyway, that's my whole spiel on review copies. So not really sure how I'm going to proceed with that, but I will be trying to do more book reviews on the channel because that was overwhelmingly, like, I think it was like 78% of people said they want to see more book reviews. I also had a couple of comments that people want to see more hauls, and that's great, but it's also expensive, and I only have a certain book budget per month. So usually I'll do my shopping like once a week with my allowance that I get, because Matthew and I both get an allowance every week that we can use for spending money, because we're on track to eliminate all of our debt. So I don't know how it's gonna go for book hauls. I would love to haul more books too, believe me. I could have this whole basement here filled with books, but you know, we have to be realistic with how much that costs as well, especially for some of these vintage copies. They can get a little bit expensive. I did buy one of the Amityville books and one of the Friday the 13th books, and like the Friday the 13th book was like it was expensive, you know. So I will try to do more hauls, but maybe what I'll do is I'll split them up and do smaller ones and just do more of them. I'm not really too sure how I'm gonna tackle that, but until I start getting some revenue from this channel, or until I have a huge raise from work, I won't be able to spend any more money on doing book hauls. So we'll see how that one goes. So there you guys go. I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to talk to you guys about. This video is going to be long enough. I just wanted to have a chatty Sunday afternoon where we're talking about, you know, things that happened in 2021 and kind of what I want to see in 2022. Let me know down below if you guys have any video ideas or what you would like to see. Any suggestions of other ventures that you would like to see. Like, would you be interested in seeing a fictionalized book about my paranormal encounters? What are your thoughts on review copies? Because that's something that I talked about quite a bit here. Yeah, so let me know what you guys think. I am so happy to say that I have all of you guys as friends. Please check out my social media as well. Hit me up on Instagram, follow me on TikTok, and comment over there because I love this community. All of the other booktubers are fantastic in our little horror niche, and I just want to say that you guys have been awesome. I get very few negative comments on this channel, and that is just fantastic because that can really take away from the joy of putting out these videos. And these videos take a long time between recording and doing all the makeup and doing the hauls and editing and doing the thumbnail and the whole thing. So you guys have been fantastic. I hope you all have an amazing holiday season. Blessed Yule, Merry Christmas, and I'll have some more videos coming up during December, you know, what my solstice gifts are and maybe some baking and stuff like that. I was thinking about doing a vlog, so let me know what you guys think, and until next time, stay spooky everybody. Bye.